Hi guys, and welcome back to ACCA TV. Here today I'm interviewing Maya Ito and Joan Quinn. Hi Joan.
Hi, how are you, Mallory?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm glad to be here with Maya and Carlos and at the gallery. It's really a pleasure.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having you.
Carlos is running the show.
Good, yeah.
He loved you be here.
So I have a couple of questions for you. What is it like being called a muse to many?
I think a muse is someone who actually sits for a photographer or for a painter. And I'm not a muse because I don't sit for a lot of painters. I only sit for the people who ask to do my portrait. So in that respect, I think it's more of a personal connection to the artist because he feels like he's wanted to make a replica of me.
It's really nice. And what is it like seeing so many different versions of yourself and just seeing yourself through so many different people's eyes?
I think the whole thing about all of these portraits is that it shows what the artist can do with one subject. Because I always feel like I'm one subject painted by 200, 300 different people, or photographed by 200 or 300 different people. And it has the artist's hand in it. The artist is what's making the painting. So it's really much more about the artist than about me. I'm just sitting there as a friend of the artist.
Oh, I really like that perspective.
Yeah, I have a question to ask Joan Quinn too. Today we are celebrating our magazine, and you are very famous for magazine interview editor. So as 80s editor, what you will give us advice to how make a good magazine in our world?
I think your magazine is terrific, and I think you've done a great job. So thank you, Maya. And as far as interview, we were just beginning, and we were helping people to become known. What we wanted to do was make sure that photographers were getting assignments and getting published, because in the 80s it was difficult for artists to, not artists, but mostly photographers, to get a space and to be known. So our main thrust was to get young photographers that we knew, either in New York or wherever they were, and we helped them. We actually, when interviews started, we didn't pay anybody. We didn't pay the photographers. Their being published in the magazine was what they were getting, and they could use that for their book. So when they went out to get commercial work or to do personal things, magazine work, editorial, they could use that in their book to show what they could do. And we were letting them be very experimental. They could do whatever they wanted. We had stylists, we had makeup, hair, we had everybody come in because everyone wanted to be a part of it. And it was a great collaboration. Those were very happy days.
Thank you so much. Why I asked the question? Because those days social media is destroy a lot for business. So many wonderful magazines disappeared. And in Beverly Hills, I look around all the galleries. They don't have their own magazine. Unfortunately, our CEO Carlos, he knows how to publish, and also he does private publish. So this time, and we're expanding what we can do better for the artist, and also as you are very well known to be an artist, big supporter too. So I think the magazine, I personally think we can document artists very well. Thank you so much.
I think Carlos did a fantastic job. I think one of the things that's really important and that shows up in this publication is the editing. The editing has been really well done, and the idea of coordinating the story with the photograph and the idea of showing what that artist did or how he did it and what year it was is very important. And I think you've covered all of that.
Yes, so when in the beginning, and we are going to feature Jamie Nelson as a photographer, and then I talked to Carlos. I said, Carlos, I think we need to ask Joan Quinn to give us a little bit advice, because she's a professional and will coach us to how we can make a beautiful, good magazine. And I text you, I said, I have some project with you, and you said, please give me the idea. So I back to Carlos. Carlos says, I have an idea. So he said, this time is about photography. You are very known, so many wonderful artists poetry about you, but we didn't know if you have photos by photographer. So I even go to online to look at. I couldn't find so many. And then when Carlos contacted with you, and then your daughter sent out so many for us, and then I was so happy for that. How come you keep so many wonderful pictures?
I think during the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, we all used a camera. And I started with an Instamatic, which was a very cheap little camera. And David Hockney said, you can't use that. That's no good. Your photographs aren't going to be any good. And I used to take, there was a little piece that fit on the top, and it had 2 or 3 light bulbs on it, so that if you wanted to use the flash, you could do that. And I used to carry the film, I think it was 626 film, in my pocket. And then I'd take it to the neighborhood drive-in where you could take your film and have it developed. And from there, I would have 3 pictures made of each piece. And then I would send one to the person who was in, or send whoever was in it, or if it was a party, I would send them all the party. Now you just do it on your phone, and you have it all.
Yes.
So we have, I was probably one of the only people during that time archiving the culture of those years, because there were a lot of parties, there were a lot of art openings, and there were a lot of artists who needed to be recognized. And so that's why we have the archives, and we're still working on them.
Yeah, that's we realize we realize so important for artists and archives so many wonderful paintings and photos. Yeah, so Mary, do you have any more questions?
I do, actually.
So many things I love to discuss and talk and with Joan Quinn.
Yeah.
And so, but because she has so many titles. Yeah. So what's the next title you're gonna pick?
So actually, speaking of photos in the magazine, I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit about some of the photos that are in the magazine. This photo really stood out to me. Here it is.
The George Hurrell.
Yes.
George Hurrell, the photographer to the stars. And he was just absolutely a wonderful person. But he was the mentor to so many young artists, and people just wanted to meet him. Photographers just wanted to meet him because he was such a great man. And he had done this whole series of Hollywood women, mostly women, a few men. But I had an assignment for French Vogue, and I was going over, I asked George if he would do the photography. I had several friends who came in to be models, and then French Vogue sent a couple of young girls, young actresses, who wanted to be part of the story. And one particular girl came. She was like 2 hours late, and George was, where is this person? And I said, I don't know, I didn't book her, she's just not coming. And she just played prima donna, you know, it was like, she didn't know what an important person he was. So while we were waiting, I said, well, will you just do a picture for me? And he said, sure, sit over there. And he there was a bench, and I sat on the bench, and he said, he went back, he took a light and threw the light right behind the bench, and he said, that's your light. And he said, "Look at me," snapped the picture, and walked away. And I said, "George, you took one shot. You can't." He said, "I got it." And I said, "No, take another one." So we took another one, and then the girl came, we took the picture. And I also had a young photographer named Eugene Pinkowski who begged me to come to the studio. "Please let me come. I'll sweep the floor. I won't say anything. I just want to watch how George works." So he was there too. And we finished the photo shoot. Gene swept up the floors, but George said, "Just leave. We don't need anybody to help us." And about 3 days later, I got a box at my front door, and I opened it up. It had purple tissue paper in it and this photograph that you've seen here. And it said, "I told you I got it." And it was the first shot that he had taken.
I think that's what we call a one-hit wonder.
He was really great.
Mary, you pick a really big one and a beautiful one. I love that one too. And also we will present some George's pictures too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, because we own the one collection here. Yeah, when I saw that picture, I said, "Oh, sounds familiar."
So it's part of the ACCA collection.
It's part of the ACCA collection. Yeah. Thank you so much.
That was for French Vogue, so those were the people we used for French Vogue. Of course, George was the great hit.
No, it's a beautiful photo. It reminds me of something like in the 20s, those actresses, that kind of lighting, the photo, everything, beautiful.
Just kind of like, it happened like that. There was nothing else. No makeup, no anything. Just sit there.
Super organic.
No filter.
Yeah, no Instagram filter.
No retouch up.
No, nothing. Exactly.
So I did have a few other questions. I know this is a pretty famous photo as well. Can you just explain a little bit about why and what the story is behind it?
This is probably threefold, because Robert Mapplethorpe was the photographer. Christophe Demenil, whose parents were huge art collectors from Houston and in Paris, and part of the Schlumberger family, who was Schlumberger Oil, and then they had a cousin named Jean Schlumberger who did jewelry. And it was for interview. And I was doing a story on Pat Vale, who was the daughter of Seaman Sheps. In fact, she had a shop here in Beverly Hills. He had a shop here in Beverly Hills in the 40s. So it meant a lot to me. And we were going to do a double page spread. And I used Christophe's clothes, and then Pat Vale, who was at Seaman Sheps, put all this jewelry on me. And Mapplethorpe had us up on a throne, and he was down on the floor. And he like shot up, and that's the picture that he took. So it actually ran an interview, and then he said, "I want Joan to have it." So they gave it to me, which was like such a thrill, because he was so fabulous, and he didn't live long enough to enjoy his great fame.
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit information for that picture. Carlos, for all the pictures, Carlos did all the research and put the code for each pictures.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and also he did a little bit crime here, a crime here.
Oh, yeah. He put a Jean-Michel Basquiat crown
right.
on Quinn,
Yeah.
which is great, because Jean-Michel was a great friend of ours, too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Mary, as maybe you might not know, Joan is an art collector, art supporter. Also, she is a jewelry collector too.
Ooh, a jewelry collector. That's something we can definitely agree on.
Yeah, we can talk more, and maybe next time when
maybe.
visit your house and look around.
Yeah, I think you'll have to visit the bank, because I think everything's at the bank right now.
Well, that's a good place to keep it.
Yes, it is.
Actually.
Isn't it? Yes, it really is.
So I'm curious, I heard in other interviews that you've lived in all different types of places around the world, Tunisia, Europe. I would like to know how that has translated to your art.
I don't think I've lived in all those places, but I've visited a lot of those places. And of course, the first thing is the museum. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is to get a connection to a person who's an artist living there so that we can meet them. And the other thing is I'm Armenian, so in many of those places I met the Armenian ambassador, if there was an Armenian ambassador in each of those cities. So it would open the door for the culture and whatever was going on in that city. London, of course, was someplace that we stayed for a long time. We changed houses with Alan Jones, an artist. My children are twins. I have twin daughters, Jennifer and Amanda. And Alan Jones had twin daughters, and they're all the same age. So they get along very, very well. And they've known each other for all to this day. They're still friends. So those are the kind of exchanges. In Paris, we have another friend who's was a dress designer, Emmanuel Kahn, and she had a daughter the exact same age as my twins. So they became good friends. And those people, I was totally influenced. I was influenced by the designers like Emmanuel Kahn and Zandra Rhodes in London, and the artists who were there, Dougie Fields and Andrew Logan in London. And in Paris, Tony Donaldson was doing the work. He was an English artist, but he was doing the work for Emmanuel. So he was making her labels, and she lived in a great Art Deco house in Garches, and we used to stay there. So the travel has been a big experience for me.
Thank you so much. As a curator and ACCA International Director, you are really is my idol. I'm trying to do everything and Joan Quinn and did or has not done yet. Yeah, I'm trying. Thank you so much.
That's such an honor, Maya, and it's embarrassing me because I don't feel like that. I don't feel like I've done enough. One of the things that I do like to do, and this is for you too, Mallory, is connect people. I feel that it's very important for a circle of people to get to know each other. If you don't know Maya, I would make sure that you knew her if you had the same interests that she did. Or if you send me an email and I think it should go to an artist living here in Los Angeles, yeah, I'll forward it so that they'll get to meet you and know what you're doing. So I'm very humbled by being here, and I respect what you've done and how you've treated the work that you have. And I thank you and Carlos so much for actually publishing this wonderful journal. And Mallory, thank you for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for coming. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. And we're looking forward to collaborate and document your legacy story more. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.